Hey guys, welcome back to Film Feature 43. Today we're continuing these group of videos talking about horror movie antagonists, how they die in the respective films, and who I think the best protagonist would be to beat them at their own game in their own movie universe. Today we're talking about arguably the most famous inanimate object that has come to life and gone on a killing spree. As humans, we're fascinated with things that can come to life and kill us, whether it be a car like Christine, or just a tire like in Rubber, or even Killer Tomatoes. We have this fascination with mundane things that can come to life and kill us, and we wouldn't even suspect it. And like I said, arguably the most famous of these inanimate objects coming to life is the killer good guy doll, Chucky, who often targets Andy Barclay and is put down by Andy Barclay. And that's how we're going to figure out how to beat Chucky and who's best equipped to do so, based on how Chucky has died and how Chucky has returned throughout the Child's Play franchise. We're specifically looking at the Brad Dourif Chucky, not the Mark Hamill Chucky, the Charles Lee Ray voodoo possessed Chucky doll is who we're looking at. And for starters, starting with Child's Play 1, Chucky was burnt and decapitated, but he kept coming back trying to kill the detectives and the Barclay family. Only shooting him through the heart, which was the main thing that was human in his body at that time, put an end to Chucky's reign of terror over the Barclay family. In Child's Play 2, Chucky is brought back to life by the same good guy factory that made him in the first place to prove that the killer doll story that was centered around Andy Barclay was all fake. Unfortunately, it wasn't fake, and Chucky, knowing that he had to transfer his soul before he became human in this new body, sets out to find Andy again, who's in foster care, and by the time that he gets Andy incapacitated long enough to do the Louis Dembala spell, it's too late and Chucky can't transfer his soul. Chucky is then covered with molten plastic and an air hose is shoved into his mouth, where he blows up like David Lopan in Big Trouble in Little China. At the beginning of Child's Play 3, we see that the Good Guy factory has been shut down for many years, but is reopened and starts pumping out more Good Guy dolls. The heap of molten plastic and Chucky body parts is picked up, and fluids drip into a vat of molten plastic that becomes new Good Guy dolls. And by fluids, I don't mean the fluids that we see in Seed of Chucky. You know what? We won't talk about that now. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, blood in the vat equals a new Chucky doll. New Chucky doll equals a new opportunity to possess a different kid other than Andy Barclay. With this new chance to play hide the soul, Chucky chooses a new vessel that goes to the same military school as Andy, and his name is Ronald Tyler. Andy saves Tyler by throwing Chucky into a giant fan in an amusement park ride that I don't think would actually be there because it seems very dangerous, but Chucky is blown apart into thousands of pieces. The next couple films, Andy is relegated to a back burner and a name drop here and there, and we focus on Chucky and his relationship with Tiffany Valentine, who is his ex, played by Jennifer Tilly, who stitches Chucky together and brings him back to life with a chant from a book, Voodoo for Dummies. Chucky then kills Tiffany, transferring her soul into a doll, and they want to go into younger human bodies, so they have to go retrieve the Heart of Dembala from Charles Lee Ray's grave. So this leads to a killer doll road trip, weird doll sex, and not so good non-doll acting. With the Heart of Dembala, they can transfer their souls into anyone, not just unsuspecting children, so they try to transfer Tiffany's soul into Katherine Heigl and Chucky's soul into a guy that I didn't recognize. Tiffany is Hanseled and Greteled into an oven where she's burnt, and then at the gravesite, her and Chucky fight each other with shovels, and Tiffany ends up getting stabbed. Chucky is then shot a whole bunch, and he dies, and right before Tiffany dies, she gives birth to this weird hellspawn baby doll thing. The weird baby doll thing that was given birth to by Tiffany then grows up and is held captive as a ventriloquist dummy in England for some reason, and somehow is in possession of the heart of Damballa. Glenn then escapes from the ventriloquist and sets off to find his mother and father, who he believes is Chucky and Tiffany, on the set of a movie within a movie, starring Jennifer Tilly. So for those of you who are not keeping up, Jennifer Tilly is playing Jennifer Tilly, who also plays Tiffany, in a movie within the movie Seed of Chucky. Got it? Alright, good. The Hellspawn shows up and incantates, bringing back Chucky and Tiffany in the body of these animatronics that were being used on the movie set, and Tiffany decides that she's going to put her soul in the body of Jennifer Tilly. Chucky's going to put his soul in the body of the rapper Redman, but not before they use the fluid that I was talking about earlier to impregnate Jennifer Tilly so she can have a rapid voodoo birth, giving Glenn/Glenda a body in which he/she can inhabit. But this is how far the franchise has gone off the rails. Fast forward a bit, Chucky decides that he's not gonna do this, and he is chopped up by Glenn, and Glenn and Tiffany transfer their souls into the baby's body and Jennifer Tilly's body, respectively. Fast forward to the best two movies in the franchise, in my opinion, and we don't really see that many Chucky deaths, as far as Chucky being the one dying. We see him get his head stomped by an adult Andy Barclay, and that's the only Chucky death that we get in the two latter films. A doll actually gets shot point blank in the head and decapitated, and it still continues to talk and live, so obviously shotgun blasts aren't going to kill these Chucky dolls. We also learn that Chucky knows a new chant that he got off of voodoo'sfordummies.com, that he can split his soul and go into people, as we see in the Cult of Chucky, and also multiple good guy dolls. So that makes him even harder to kill because he's able to split his body into different entities, so he can keep coming back as long as he can keep splitting his soul. No matter how you dispatch the Chucky dolls, they always seem to come back in these films. And it looks like without the heart of Damballa, it has to be the original body that Charles Lee Ray incantated himself into in the first Child's Play. We see that in Child's Play 2 and in Bride of Chucky, where Tiffany has to stitch the original body back together to get Chucky's soul into it. Or it has to be made with blood from the original doll, like we see in Child's Play 3. Other than that, you need the heart of Damballa to bring Chucky into a body that he hasn't previously inhabited, or, barring that, Chucky has to be close enough with his original body to give the new Damballa chant to split his soul into different entities like the Chucky dolls we see in the Cult of Chucky. So here's the question at hand. How do we stop Chucky from coming back, and who is the best person to handle this duty? I think the first thing we need to do is get the heart of Damballa out of the hand of anybody who'd want to bring Charles back. So that'd be Tiffany, his son/daughter, anybody in his cult. We have to get that amulet away from them, and I think anybody theoretically can do that. That's not really that hard of a task. The next thing we need to do is get the original Chucky doll to be captured somewhere that he's not going to be around people to split his soul and put him into whoever's body who's just passing by. We need to get the Chucky doll away from any people, any good guy dolls, or if Willy's Wonderland is canon, any animatronics. Or I guess if Seed of Chucky is canon, any animatronics. So our hero needs to get the heart of Damballa, use it as bait to lure Chucky into a trap. We've seen Chucky be trapped before in Bride of Chucky, where Tiffany puts him into a baby crate where he can't physically get out of. So a trap is our best way to defeat this monster. He also favors children, so somebody younger would probably be our best bet into luring Chucky into coming out in the open. That kind of seems to be the territory with a killer doll. It's going to be somebody younger. So the first person that came to my mind was Alex Murphy from the movie leprechaun. Alex is young. He's dealt with a seemingly immortal, smaller person who has an affinity for using magic and bad one-liners.
An eye for an eye, me dear.
Coming back in increasingly worse sequels. Alex is even dressed like a good guy doll, so if that isn't a point in his favor, I don't know what is. And with the help of Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Rob from the 1986 April Fools, and a 24-year-old Jennifer Aniston, Alex successfully traps the leprechaun in a secluded well in the middle of nowhere. Well, he actually shoots him with a slingshot and then dumps gasoline into the well, burning the leprechaun, but nonetheless, the leprechaun stays there for 25 years. So I thought Alex would be a good choice at trapping a smaller entity in a well, but I rewatched Leprechaun Returns and find out they actually didn't trap the leprechaun in the well. The leprechaun ultimately escapes when sorority sisters buy the house. And watching Leprechaun Returns, I noticed that they didn't put anything to seal the well to keep the leprechaun in there, so he ends up making his escape. Knowing the well would be a good place to chuck the Chuck, maybe one outside the Pink Palace in Ashland, Oregon would be a better choice because it's more secluded and you're actually able to seal that well up with a big wooden plank over top of it. I think the best character to trap Chucky in a well would be Coraline Jones. And before you say,
Coraline isn't a horror movie,
take a look at this thing. That is terrifying. So, for this, I'm going to stretch the imagination of what a horror film is and say that Coraline would be the best person to take on Charles Lee Ray in the body of Chucky. Coraline has shown herself proficient in using artifacts that the bad guy wants to get a hold of to trap said bad guy in a well. In the movie, it's the Beldam's hand. It's not the full Beldam, but she's able to throw it down the well with the help of Wybie. If we took a note from the book, she actually uses the key that the hand is after and puts a blanket over the well opening and the key in the middle, and the hand jumps on to collect the key and it falls down into the well. So if she would do something like that actually growing up, I read the book and watched the movie, and for years of not watching the movie, I thought that's how the movie ended. I can vividly remember seeing the hand jumping onto a blanket and ending up in the well, but again, on a rewatch, that's not what happened. But the important thing is, Wybie and Coraline do seal the well, and the well is heavily secluded enough that Chucky is not going to trick anyone into letting him out of said well. And Coraline kind of fits the bill of the protagonist for a Child's Play story. She lives in a spooky house, she has semi-neglectful parents, and she comes up against supernatural forces that she has to outsmart. So she kind of fits the bill in that regard as well. And I think if she wises up to Chucky's kind of antics quickly and is able to get the heart of Damballa, and that's something that Chucky still wants, she'd be able to trick him into a trap, trapping him there for at least long enough for her to get away and end the movie. But that's what I think, and that's who I think would be the best horror movie character to take on Chucky. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you think of these videos. I'm going to try to get out as many of these the week of Halloween as I can, so look for a couple more coming later this week, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.